Good evening, everyone. Right, it's been a while since I've done a normal just feed. I've been doing a lot of lives, a lot of streaming, and I'm looking at the aquarium today. It definitely needs a good glass clean tomorrow, but I think it's time for us to give the guys some dinner. So as you can see, for those of you who don't know us, we have got 3 axolotl in here in a 4 foot by 3 foot by 2 foot partially planted tank. So I've got quite a lot of live plants in here, anubias, Java ferns, Java moss, but I've also got some artificial to bulk out the area, simply because they're eating me out of house and home. So back there we've got Jax. He's the wild coloration, and he's the killer of all plants. He doesn't mean to, he's absolutely super. I think the world of that axolotl, but he lands on them. He is just so clumsy. I'm clumsy myself, so I get it. And that's one of the reasons we haven't got all live plants. Just in front of him, we've got our copper. This is Jellybean. So Jellybean was a rehome during the sort of COVID times when someone was struggling with him. And he was about the size of my two. So he's fitted in really well, and I had space for one more. And this at the front is Lottie. So Lottie and Jax are full brothers. I got them when they were 6 months old. And they were in a smaller tank in the kitchen at the time. And then as they grew, we've put them into a much larger space, obviously. And Jellybeans come to join them. Sorry, we've got cats and dogs playing behind us. That's what you can hear. And Oti is chewing away on her cheese bone. So back to axolotls. I feed mine about twice a week. Everyone does this differently. I used to sort of delicately hold sort of worms in front of them with tongs, wait for them to eat, worry if they didn't eat. And then when I got Jellybean from the rescue, Axolotl and Reptile Rescue on Facebook, they could always do with some help, so please look them up. But I asked them how they managed to feed so many, and they said, we just put the worms in and leave them to it. And you know what? Since then, that's what I've done, and that works brilliantly well. So I put in more than they can eat, and that way I know everyone gets plenty. I don't put in so many we're going to end up with dead worms everywhere. That's why I only do it twice a week. But by doing it this way, I know that everyone gets their fair share. Whereas before, I think Jellybean in particular was sort of not getting enough to eat. And Jax and Lottie, it really depends on how they feel. So, we've got Jax up the back there. I'm going to put the worms down. I should really put GoPro in and don't GoPro. Let's try this. So let's put some in for Jax at the back there. So we're just literally going to drop them down. Oh, he missed that one. But there's plenty wiggling around in front of him. He will grab one of those in a moment. You can see him sort of thinking about it. Are you touching your toes, Jack? Do you not like them touching your toes? And this is a bit like a sort of all-you-can-eat buffet. Hey. Your aim's a bit off today, Jax. Right, while he's thinking about life, let's just bring you forward. Oh, there we go. Bring you forward a bit. Let's put some down in front of... There we go, Jackson's got himself sorted now. He says, I've got my first wormies. He tries to take too many and it always goes wrong. But let's put some down for Lottie. I'm just going to pop you there for a minute because I've dropped one on the floor. I think I've dropped a few on the floor. I don't mind in the least feeding worms. I don't particularly like escaped worms. He is thinking about whether he wants any. I'm going to put some down in front of Jellybean there. So let's come down here. Try not to get too many in the plant pot. Now Jellybean tends to eat in secret. Recently he has been eating more when we can see him, but usually he prefers to sort of not be seen eating. Now one of the reasons they might not be grabbing is I'm at the end of a tub of worms. So the worms are a lot smaller than usual. That's why I'm putting so many in. And they like to have a decent large worm to grab hold of. There we go, that was a bit better. So that was a bit bigger for him. And he managed to grab that nicely. I haven't washed off the soil brilliantly, but I need to do a full tank change. So that's why I haven't. So we've just got Jellybean. I'd quite like to see him take one. I'm going to put the rest of the worms in. There's only 2 more. And then that's all done. And let's just talk about keeping axolotls for a while we're here. There's lots of different views and ideas on how to keep them. Some people keep them in very, very shallow containers. There's this belief that they don't need much water, but they come from a lake. A lake's not shallow. So they do need to be able to come up for air. That is absolutely true. And with the youngsters, you want to make sure that they can do that. But in a tank like this one, they've got places to land. So what you'll notice is when my guys go up for air, they'll then land back down in plants in the corner, or in this pot here. And I've also got a shelf I put, there we go, Jellybeans finally got into the eating, brilliant. So I also have a shelf that I put in the corner. I need to get that back in actually. It's sort of, well actually it's a bathroom shelf. It's designed to sort of have your shampoos and conditioners in, but it's got no big holes in for feet and legs to get stuck. And it's ideal for these guys. But this worm is actually trying to feed itself to Jax. So I do like a deep tank. I do like plenty of water. The main advantages of that I find is the parameters stay even far, far easier. I only actually clean my axolotls out every 3 months or so. I will clean the tank sides quicker than that because you can't put, unfortunately, snails or anything else in with them. So there's nothing that's cleaning the sides for me. But the actual quality of the water, every 3 months, clean out seems to be good. And then the big external filter, which lives in the cupboard underneath, I give that a really good clean out every 6 months. So that only gets done twice a year. And my lot are really happy on that. So don't get bogged down, they're really not that technical to keep if you've got enough space and you don't overload the area. It's the same as sort of goldfish and things. If you keep 2 goldfish in a tank this size, there'll be no issue at all. If you keep them in a little bowl, you'll be cleaning them out every 3 days to actually keep them in good condition. And it's similar. I would love mine to have a bigger tank, bigger aquarium, but there's only so much my front room I can give up. I've thought about putting them in a pond outside. Other people do. But in all honesty, I like to see them. I enjoy them. They're real characters. The reason I'm feeding them now is because they've all been stood there going, hey, where's food? Sorry, I've got the dogs bickering because one's got both chews now. Let me just sort that out. Which one do you want? Right, you have that one then, Oti. Good boy, you have that one. Good boy. Too many animals. Too many animals. So Jax hasn't eaten as many as he normally would. Look at that now. Lottie has got himself sort of wedged against the sand there. So the balancing act with these guys is giving them enough to climb on, enough to land in. It's not often that I come down in the morning and all three are on the floor of the tank. That's really quite unusual. They're all landed somewhere. But they do also, they're not the most intelligent. Sorry guys, close your ears. When it comes to going around obstacles. So I might well end up taking out this log in the middle just to give them a bit more floor space. Also I can move this plant over to one side, just giving them a bit more room. But they don't mind actually. They figure it out, whatever. You'll see I've got floating weed. I think that adds to the levels in the plant, helps keep everything healthy. We've got duckweed up there and it breeds prolifically. So that's a nice easy one to keep. Hey guys. Hello. So Lottie is a dirty Lucy. Can you see these black marks around his head? And he is getting more of those as he gets older. They are now about 5.5 years old. Jellybean, I'm not quite certain of his age, but it's somewhere around the same age. And I just think they're fascinating. I don't know if any of you have got axolotls. I always love hearing their names and hearing what you've got. Jellybean's just eaten one more. I'm just going to change to a different video so we can get a slightly closer up view. That's better, we can get a real sort of close up look at them now. So he's not flapping his food because he's not just eaten. That's when he tends to. Hey. There we go. I find them utterly fascinating. I first saw them in London Zoo as a child. And I always wanted some. Didn't get them until I was in my late 30s. And I'm very glad I have. I think they make quite good pets. I've got fussier about, as I get older, about having animals in cages and tanks and things. But you can make quite a good environment for them. And they can live quite happily, quite naturally. And obviously because you don't handle them, you leave them to it. You wouldn't want to handle these guys. They don't enjoy it. They've got a slime coat that they need, and you don't want to take that off. But they are really interesting to watch. There we go, we get a bit closer view of Jax now. I'm not sure my family quite get it, but my mum came to stay a few years ago, and she goes to bed later than I do. And Lottie sent her into a panic because axolotls they float. They really are stupid. I think the world of them, but they are stupid. I've had Jax get stuck upside down next to a filter. Lottie that evening with Mum watching just floated at the top of the tank for about 2 hours. So she's panicking, reading up on them. How does she explain to me that my axolotl's dead? And then he sort of woke up and went, oh yeah, I'm fine. And off he went and back to normal. And I used to get worried about them. And I don't anymore, I'm quite used to it now. But I must say, since they've been in the bigger tank, I don't get nearly as much of that. That nice one, Jellybean? There we go. They're very good at sifting the sand out. So that's one of the other debates with axolotl owners. Do you have a bare bottom, or do you have sand, or do you have slate? Now I've actually got slate underneath here, and then sand obviously. I hated them. I tried them on a bare tank for about a day. I hated it. They couldn't get a grip. There was nothing natural about it for them. The only thing is it's easier to clean up after them. Well, if I choose to keep them, it's not about making my life easier. It's about making it as natural for them as possible. So I fairly quickly changed to sand. And you have to have this pretty fine sand, not gravel, because they will eat it. They'll eat stones. They'll eat anything up to about the size of their head, really. So you do have to be a little bit careful about what you put in. Hey, Jax. And the other thing is, where some of these worms are smaller, you'll notice as they eat, white may come out of them. They just don't like the taste of them as much. Oh, that one went down well though. Jack certainly didn't have a problem with that one. So you can see they do take their time. And this is where if you've got one greedy axolotl and you only put in 2 worms per each of them, you will undoubtedly be left with one that's hungry. One will eat 4 and leave another one with nothing. Now you're doing your Krusty the Clown impersonation. I always think that looks a bit Krusty-like. So the health of their flukes is supposed to tell you the quality of the tank water. I'm afraid I don't believe that. Lottie's will generally look very, very good, particularly after he's eaten. Jax's vary so much. Sometimes they look really big and bushy, and other times not great at all. Lottie's are neat, even, always in good condition, but not particularly abundant. And that's just him. That's the way they always are. Aren't they, Jellybean? And that just is him. And I love the differences in all of them. You've got some similarities and you've got the differences. And they really do have little accidentalities. I think they're very cool. So there we go. For those of you who haven't met us before, that's an introduction to my 3 axolotls. The page is predominantly about the dogs. But the axolotls are very much part of our family. And so they like to feature pretty regularly too. Right, let's see what Jellybean thinks of this one. Does this one taste any better? Is it the same one? He's got 2. Well, that's not very helpful. Has he got 2 or has he got the middle of 1? No, he had 2. And it might be he's just got eyes bigger than his tummy. That he's eaten quite a few now. He's not actually that hungry. But the movement is causing this reflex action for him to grab, thinking he's got to sort of fill up while he can, but in reality, he's pretty full. I think he's going to spit this one out again. Yeah. Nope, not the right one. Fair enough. Fair enough. Right, I will carry on and say goodbye to you all. Lovely to meet any of you who we haven't seen before. and are always good to catch up with those that we do know regularly. And I'm afraid a bit like sort of the big fish channels, etc., I'm not going to be bringing new things regularly. I just have my 3 axolotls in good condition, in a planted tank, semi-planted tank, and not a lot changes. But I don't think that's a bad thing. Would I rather be bringing in new things weekly that you never see again? Or is it nice to get to know the 3 that I have? Who knows? Right, take care everyone. We'll see you again soon.